This is Kestrel. Welcome to my garden tour. All these clips were taken in early April, and as you can see, Oregon is in bloom in that time. And this is just a review of my garden and what we're planning to do this year in very, very broad strokes. First of all, we're growing alongside our little house in containers. These are some honeyberries, which are an interesting plant, somewhat similar to a blueberry, that I have in potted grow bags, essentially. I'm looking forward to trying these fruits. And next to them, in this video, I have some Negroni dwarf figs, which are also potted. You can see just the beginning of their new growth here. These were transplanted this year, so I don't expect to get too much fruit out of either of these plants, but I'm looking forward to at least some. I also have planted spring garlic everywhere, which you can see planted alongside the figs here to help repel pests, and are also a beneficial companion to the figs as well. And I have since moved these figs to a sunnier spot where they'll thrive. Next to the house, I have a little semi-shaded garden plot where I've been planting peas, snow peas, some purple cabbage, nasturtiums, and then I'm also doing a lot of lettuce succession showing. And in this area, there's also a bunch of volunteer kale and collard greens and other things that are self-seeded from a previous tenant many, many years ago. Here's some nasturtium, and you can see there's some irises as well, along with a bunch of wild vetch, hemlock, and other things. Up on the hill, we have a very sunny spot, and this is where our main vegetable garden is going to be. We have beds composed of some old rotted manure that we've spent a lot of time hauling and dumping over the winter. And you can see some of what we've planted here. They're all cool season crops right now. So we've got some green cabbage and some wildflowers, all under netting to protect it from chickens and rabbits. That's what these little green tube things are. They're essential garlic oil to help repel the wild bunnies that we have here in abundance. And you can see here's the purple cabbage, which I put in the ground before the green cabbage. That's why it's so much bigger, and some more garlic. Also planning to do onions, squash, broccoli, whole bunch of brassicas, because brassicas are my favorite. You can see I just pulled some lettuce there. There's some succession lettuce. Here's just small broccolis. And there also is going to be some mustard, and in these large 50-gallon raised cloth beds, I'm going to do squashes and potentially melons because they are a little bit warmer due to being off the ground. And I've also got a bunch of other things that will be going in here. And as you can see, my garden is not, I don't really have a pristine garden. I like it a bit wild, and I also throw down a bunch of cover crops to succession plant. We've got carrots and radishes here in April, some borage growing, one of my favorite garden plants as a companion and just because it's a great pollinator, and it's also edible. Got some cilantro, and again covered with netting. We were having issues with the chickens getting in and destroying our beds. So this is in the greenhouse. We have peppers, tomatoes, and this is where the squash still were in April. We've got some basil growing. These are Hubbard squash and crookneck squash, and some peppers, some basil, some flower seeds. All of this is still in the greenhouse in April. In fact, some of it's still in the greenhouse now in late May, just because it's been so cold this year. And in this video here, I'm showing you and pinching off the little blooms that are growing on the squash plants. They're blooming because they're stressed from being inside the greenhouse for so long, but it's too cold to bring them out now. So I'm pinching off the blooms to make sure that they're not putting energy into fruiting and are going to put energy into building healthy roots and leaves, so that when I do transplant them, they'll be healthy and produce a lot. And this doesn't harm them at all, and you can eat those little blooms as well. I just got some cucumbers that you just saw there, and some melons. I'm really excited about trying to plant melons that are always difficult to do in our Pacific Northwest climate, but I absolutely adore melons during the heat of summer. As you can see, this is a type of honeydew melon, and then I have some watermelons. And finally, you can see the garden plot area, the weed area next to our little apartment. There's some of this volunteer kale that I'm harvesting, and I'm always harvesting things from whatever I can find, and the other people that live on this property always grow large gardens as well. So we've been harvesting that bounty since we moved in. And these feral kale, and you see some chard and some collard greens, and all of this has been part of our diet since we moved. I also have been harvesting, you can see some cleavers here. They're the vine looking things. Use those for tea and also feed to my horse. It's good for lymph drainage. Some blooming kale, more cleavers, and I've also been harvesting dandelion flowers. Not too many, because early in the year I make sure that all the flowers are there for pollinators, but once I feel like the pollinators have enough, I go in and harvest some dandelion for tea and just for adding to our stir fries as well. Really, really tasty, bitter plant with a lot of uses. And yeah, so this is some of the harvest I have, and I'm looking forward to more. It's going to be hopefully very productive year, and I'm happy and excited to show you everything I'm going to have going on very soon. Got some sage here, again, left over from a previous tenant. I've been trying to boost this plant because it's a little bit haggard, and it was covered in hemlock. Picking some more cleavers as well. I'm really hoping to be able to feed myself and my partner the majority from our garden this year, and I'm putting a lot of effort into making that a reality. Please like and subscribe if you would like to see more of these garden videos, and also feel free to ask me any questions you might have.